What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So after raising my head up from just playing this game, I decided I'd probably run, to the internet and see what people are saying about Gotham Knights from, say, the review side of things. On Twitter, a lot of people seem to be vibing with the game, really chill. No one's arguing. Some people are posting some of their petty little memes. Like somebody posted and said, if you bought Saints Row Remastered and Gotham Knights, you are the reason why AAA gaming is dying. Only to have somebody screenshot something that he posted about begging the developers for adding DLC to Cyberpunk 2077. So the irony is lost on a lot of gamers. Somebody told me today on one of my comments, and they were cordial about it, that it's kind of a weird position to talk about a game as being good when the game has glaring issues. And I told them straight up, this is something that gamers do all the time. They just pretend like they don't do it when it's a game they don't care about. I'm the guy that doesn't have any reason to pretend. I will straight tell you I like games, and sometimes most of those games I like are broken or maybe not what other people think. Elden Ring. Talk about the Tree Sentinel on PC. You could not play and fight against that bad guy because at launch, the game had so many frame stutters. The world would stutter, but it was such a fun game. I was just pushing through this game until they eventually fixed it. Yes, am I the problem with gaming? If you say so, sure, thank you, right? Think about Batman Arkham Knight. The game was buggy at launch on PC, and we all enjoyed the console version, those of us on console, and we kind of, didn't know, we didn't care to know if PC people were doing okay, only to find out that actually Batman Arkham Knight, when it came out, was actually capped at 30 FPS. Believe it or not, this is one of my favorite games. On PC, it was capped at 30 FPS, and it had a lot of issues and a lot of bugs. There's so many videos showing it. So let's go ahead and look at what, a lot of the concerns are. For the most part, they're kind of pointless in a sense because some of them are not making any sense. They're just saying things like, I don't like this one thing. So they're just giving zeros. Like there's no redeeming factor for this entire project. It's so bad. It's become such a joke. And look at this. It's a shame that they release a game that is with this level of optimization with an RX 3080, ultra performance, DLSS, and 1080. In 1080, it barely gets 40 FPS. Shameful. October 23rd. That is a lie. That is a lie from the pits of hell. I use a 6800 XT, right, for one of my builds, right, which is on par with the RTX 3080 or whatever it is, or whatever you want to, rank it with on the NVIDIA side. And it barely stays at 40 FPS? Wow. Zero. I mean, you guys have seen the optimization videos I've done. In fact, I did 2 more, and I'm going to go ahead and do a few more with different builds and some of the tricks that I'm actually putting out there, because I want to make at least an entire library that has maybe 10 different PC setups with Gotham Knights. I'm literally, hitting up my friends and like, hey man, do you have that old GPU? Let me see if I can, test it on this game and see how it runs. I want to test like old AMD GPUs. I have my RX 480 here with the 4 gig, VRAM, and I want to test it. Game is repetitive, boring, blah, 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 blah. This person gave it a 4. I still don't understand why spamming 10 at this game is a complete failure. 30 FPS, ridiculous. 30 FPS? On the PC one, yo, this has become such a mess, right? Then you go to the Xbox side. If you want to read the reviews, by the way, I recommend that you actually just go on Xbox and, go to the reviews, and you can see that the game has a ranking, 500 total reviews, 4.4, and people are just telling the reason why. Sure, you may call them fanboys or whatever it is you want to say, but these are people who are playing the game for the most part, and they, they have their opinions. Better than reviews. It's better than what reviewers say. This one says, all right, long review, but hear me out. Combat feels sluggish. They gave it a 3, blah, blah, blah. Load more. You'll be able to see people having different opinions, So you saw the IGN review. I know. That's what this game did. And that's what everybody is still on, on the entire conversation in the circuit about, because it appears to me that a lot of what's going on with this game is one of the strangest things I've ever seen in my entire life. You see, a lot of the gaming outlets for this particular game, I don't think they did their research, because this game did not have as much marketing as, say, maybe some of these other titles that really kind of, strung people along. Say maybe like Avengers. This game's marketing did not come into fruition fully until about a few months before the game came out. Yes, they did the DC fandom event or whatever it is, but remember, at that time, the game was only shown at a DC fandom event. No, they didn't come to the Summer Games Festival or whatever it is. So maybe that probably skipped the minds of a lot of the reviewers or something, or maybe they just didn't know, because a lot of the reviewers have been saying things like Arkham this, Arkham that, Arkham everywhere we go. And it's just really weird overall to just see all of that. Yet, at the same time, the community and the people that are playing the game are just having a lot of fun with it. Now, yes, there are some performance issues. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that that person who said that the game wasn't staying at, whatever is 100% totally wrong. But man, I have an RTX, 2060 laptop. I just showed you guys that the game was actually running, decently, having some frame drops, but the game was running at 60 plus FPS at some points. I finally had to do a trick to lock it at 50 FPS because I didn't want any of the instability. I have a PC, and I also showed you guys that with the 1080 Ti. A 1080 Ti, that is 2 generations down from this person's 3080 that they're actually claiming. And that 1080 Ti is able to do 60 FPS, even though it will run rugged in some of the tough spots. Once you lock it using the, modification config, it just stays at 60 FPS almost the entire time. And then when you get to Elliott, I think it's not Elliott Center, when you get to Monarch Theater and one of the GCPD areas that has a lot of lighting, that's the only place, 2 places anyways, that I've seen that the game will give you any FPS issues. So a lot of this is just absolutely strange to me. I've never seen anything like this in gaming overall, that everybody feels the need to come and just talk about a game that for the most part many have not, experienced. So they're either lying, or maybe that is their experience and they're being honest and they're just an outlier, because overwhelmingly we're starting to see that this game actually appeals to the fans of the franchise overall compared to, say, even the reviewers. So I guess it's a blessing. The devs actually made a game that the fans like, that the reviewers don't like. Good. Because it's high time that developers actually started making their games appeal to their audiences. And for most of, our audience here, some people have said that they thought they'd have issues with the creative direction of this game, because the creative direction of this game, for some, they thought was probably going to be agenda driven and so on and so forth. But the game is probably on the same level of, in quote, agenda, whatever you want to call it, that Ubisoft has been basically throwing into their games in the past 5 iterations. And those games have been ranking even higher than Gotham Knights ever ranked. So if we wanted to go maybe with ideology and all that and kind of scan through it, it'll be kind of challenging to find, any overt, I would say, throwing away of a lot of things now, or covert. Now, the biggest overt one was basically taking out Batman, but that one makes, in my opinion, in this world, a little bit of sense, because Rocksteady already were done with him. And mostly nobody wanted to go ahead and try and make another Batman game. I wouldn't even advise it. If you're not Rocksteady, don't touch it. Or maybe Monolith, because Monolith actually did have a pitch for a Batman game years ago, but they weren't allowed to make it. And so I think right now there's a hunger for a Batman game. And I think Rocksteady might be in a position where they could respond and do a good job in bringing one to the community, because this game is absolutely divisive. I think it's overall hurting the brand of Warner Brothers and their IPs. And at the end of the day, I think what's going to happen here is we're going to see a huge pivot. Gotham Knights may get a continuation in its universe, but it's going to feature a lot of different superheroes. I think that's what's going to happen. So that way, everybody can pretty much just leave this thing alone. Or maybe they double down and continue and, grow this franchise. And it already seems to have a huge support around it. I mean, if you look at the social media response overall, you're going to see that it's not a small set of responses in light of the game that is actually leaning much more positive. A lot of the negatives and all of that, if they're not technical issues, a lot of them are mostly, it's not Arkham, or, it's one of these things, or it doesn't look like this, or it doesn't look like that, or it's not like Spider-Man, and blah, 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 blah. The game is not trying to be Spider-Man. I mean, are you kidding me? Look at the health bar. If anything, it's like maybe say your Assassin's Creed boss fight. That's basically what this game is trying to achieve in terms of its action, area. Then in terms of some of its other superhero areas, then it's probably trying to mimic Spider-Man for some of that stuff, yes. But again, it's an RPG, and Spider-Man isn't. The other Batman games aren't. But I just wanted to go ahead and just, point this out. I'm not going to rant too much. I just thought it was strange. I thought I'd show you guys as all of this stuff is going on. So thanks so much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.